Welcome into a brand new hour of CBS Sports HQ. I'm Jacqueline D'Agostino. As we enter Week 14 in the NFL, we're taking a look at those MVP odds. And typically, it's all about the quarterbacks, right? But now we're looking at Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley, 1 and 2 in those odds. Josh Allen is the favorite at -280. Saquon plus 500. We saw Josh Allen do some MVP-like things in the snow, nonetheless, getting credit for a touchdown pass and a touchdown reception on a single play. And, of course, leading the Bills to clinching that AFC East title for a 5th straight season. Meanwhile, Saquon Barkley is having a dream season of his own. As a Jags fan, I'm still trying to recover from him doing a backwards jump over a defender. I'm still processing that, but he's currently chasing the rushing record, on pace to break it, and just needs about 121 yards per game to break that record. And something else that, Pete, I believe you actually talked about, 4 of the 5 teams that are on the schedule for Philly that are left, bottom 5 in rushing defense. So the conversation continues in terms of the MVP. Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Katie Moxley, Douzable, and Pete Prisco. Take it away, guys.
Good stuff there, Jacqueline. Really appreciate that. All right, so let's dig into this, guys, a little bit further here. And Jacqueline kind of highlighted it. After Monday night's absolute pummeling of my 49ers, Josh Allen, the first quarterback in the Super Bowl era to have a hat trick when it comes to touchdowns, with a rushing, receiving, and, of course, throwing touchdown as well. He is now eyeing his very first MVP award, priced at -280. Is this his award to lose, Pete?
Well, since I'm one of the voters, I'm not going to talk about it. That's in reference.
Us mere mortals. Next to Pete.
That's in reference to Brady Quinn, who would never pick a game when he was calling
That's
it.
Hilarious.
Look, he's the favorite, and he should be the favorite. The guy's had a phenomenal year, and being there this summer, and you know this, I came back and I said he's going to be a different quarterback, and he's going to be a better quarterback. He might not put the gaudy numbers up that he's put up in the past, but he's also not turning the ball over like he's done in the past. And the offense is different. They get the ball out of his hands. And we haven't seen the best of this offense, by the way. Since they got Amari Cooper, they played together. Amari Cooper, Dalton Kincaid, and Keon Coleman have been together for one game.
Wow.
One game. So when those guys all get together, this offense and Josh Allen are going to look even better. I love the way he's playing. He's playing with the confidence. He exudes it when he's on the field. He is the MVP right now.
He's the front runner, and I believe because it's a quarterback-given award, right? They always say the quarterback position is the most valuable position on the field. I know we're going to talk about another guy that has the second favorite odds. I think he right now, to me, is the front runner. But to everything you said, Josh Allen, when you talk about it, right, he doesn't have the gaudy passing numbers that he had. But most importantly, he is taking care of the football. You have to also give a kudos to offensive coordinator Joe Brady, right? Because he's put some onus on that offensive line that's very physical. They can run the ball. They're running the ball extremely well. And we talked about this before, Pete. Josh Allen is the most dangerous player in the NFL in the red zone. We saw that again last week in the snow. Doesn't matter. If he's in the red zone, he's going to use that big frame that he has and the speed that he has to get into the end zone. I mean, not only did he have 2 passing touchdowns, he had a receiving touchdown in the same game, which was a weird play, right? First of all, kudos to Amari Cooper. That wasn't an easy catch for him to hold off the defender and then Josh Allen to have the presence of mind to get to the outside and find the way to get into the end zone. He's playing at an elite level. And Pete, I can't remember the last time a team won a division this early in the year. Like, it's the first week of December, and the Bills are AFC East crown. They have the crown already. A lot of that has to do with Josh Allen.
That was a ho-hum win the division, because they've done that before. You know, this is all about much more than that.
Playoffs,
getting to the Super Bowl and winning a Super Bowl. That has to be that. That's been their goal. They got to get past the Chiefs and get to the Super Bowl. The next 2 weeks are going to be really interesting for Josh Allen's MVP and for the Bills. They play the Rams this week on the road. That's never an easy game. And then they go to Detroit and play the Lions. So the next 2 weeks.
I have bet the Bills to get to the Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl, for like 4 years in a row. I didn't do it this year. And it seems to be that this is probably the year. And kudos to Josh Allen. I mean, he grew up a 49ers fan, wanted to be drafted by the 49ers, and then look what he did to us. Look what he did to us. All right, one more player in the front runner mix. And unfortunately, our Jacqueline talked about how he's been giving her nightmares. Saquon Barkley really having a revival of his career, right, in Philadelphia. After that game against the Rams where he rushed for 255 yards, he has squarely put himself in the mix now to break Eric Dickerson's 1984 record of 2,105. He is nearly at 1,500 yards right now. Pete, I'll start with you first. Is Saquon more deserving of this MVP award based on the stats?
No, he's the Offensive Player of the Year.
Okay.
The MVP should be, it's a quarterback award. It has to be. And look, he's been phenomenal. but he's averaging 4.2 before contact. Think about that for a second. 4.2 yards before contact. The offensive line, he has 13 touchdowns where he hasn't been touched. That doesn't happen unless you have a dominant offensive line. Now, he's been great. I'm not taking anything away from him. But that offensive line and the way they run the ball, because there is a threat to run the ball with Jalen Hurts, it makes it so much easier on him. He's been great. He's been fantastic. And oh, by the way, if he's going to break the record, and it comes on the last week of the season, you know who that will be against? You know who it'll be against?
Who?
The New York Giants.
Oh, I love it.
That.
I love it.
I think will even be playing depending on where they're at.
They might.
But if he has a chance to break it, they'll play him. This is why I think he does deserve to be the MVP so far in this season. When you talk about most valuable, and I hear what you're saying, Pete, he doesn't get touched until he's about 4 yards down the field. When things get dicey or hairy for the Eagles, that's where they turn to, and that, to me, means you're the most valuable player on their team. We saw just last week in the game versus the Ravens, a close game. Saquon takes over in the second half. In that fourth quarter, that 25-yard touchdown run, now he actually did get contacted a couple times, but he broke 2 tackles and made the touchdown. And then when they needed to close the game out, Pete, even though they didn't score a touchdown, they kicked the field goal, he had a 19-yard run on that drive. Like, this is a guy that is so special. You know the old cliche, he gets stronger as the game goes on. That's Saquon Barkley. In the second half, nobody has been better from any position in the NFL than Saquon Barkley. Like, when things get hairy for the Eagles, that's where they go. And what I don't understand is when you look at their playing script, the first 3 drives, he had 3 touches. And I'm like, this dude is one of the front runners for the MVP. Get him involved, and it's like, once they're in trouble, they're like, okay, we got Saquon, we can give him the ball. But that shows you how special he is. I think right now, he would be my odds-on favorite, and especially if he breaks Eric Dickerson's record.
Here's why he's not the MVP of the team. I mean, he might be the MVP of the league in the grand scheme of things, but if you take Jalen Hurts off that team, you'd rather take Saquon Barkley off than Jalen Hurts. Let's be real. So the quarterback is always the most valuable, provided the quarterback is good. Leger, they went to the Super Bowl with the DeAndre Swift and gang, didn't they?
Yeah, but he had the same team, though. He had a good offensive line. He had A.J. Brown. Don't forget, he had the Slim Reaper on the other side, too, and Goddard at tight end.
They can run the ball. They're not going to run it as well, but they can run the ball.
They haven't run it like how they run it with Saquon.
Jalen Hurts, because he's the quarterback and a relatively good quarterback, is the MVP of his own team, not Saquon Barkley.
I don't know. That defense seems to be the MVP.
You'd rather play with Saquon Barkley and not have Jalen Hurts than play with Jalen Hurts and not have Saquon Barkley?
Well, that was last season.
That was last season. But we got to think.
The offensive coordinator.
I'm going to say, if you put them on the same team, I think I would take Saquon Barkley over Jalen Hurts.
It's always the quarterback.
If I get the same O-line, I get A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Pete is a voter, and now we know quarterbacks are always winning this sport.
If you got the same offensive line, you have Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Goddard, I guarantee people would say, I'd rather take Saquon than Hurts.
No, they wouldn't.
All right, well, let's talk about last year's MVP. Lamar Jackson has slipped in the odds after his team has lost the last 3. But can Lamar really be expected to overcome Justin Tucker becoming the opposite of clutch in that game? Jackson still leads with a passer rating of 116.3 in all the NFL. He is second behind Joe Burrow when it comes to touchdowns with 29 passes. Is he still in this race, Leger?
Oh, yeah, he's definitely in this race. He's number 2, like you said, in touchdown passes, number 2 in passing yards. And to your point, if Justin Tucker makes a few field goals, they probably have 2 more wins on the schedule, and they're fighting potentially be a number 2 or number 1 seed in the AFC. Now, Lamar Jackson had an opportunity to run more, and he even kind of spoke about that after the game versus the Eagles. His mom even gave him some scruff about it, saying, when things open up, take off and run. And we saw him do that week 1 versus the Kansas City Chiefs, right? He literally put the team on his back and used his mobility to get them back in that game. I thought he threw the ball really well this last week.
Not early, he didn't.
Not early in the game, but I would say for a majority of the game. And going back to Pittsburgh, he was very inaccurate that first half versus them. But I thought he did enough to win that game. To your point, Mox, Justin Tucker is going through something right now. Again, you get a little bit more leeway when you've been one of the greatest kickers ever. But that is something that's concerning for the Baltimore Ravens, right? Going down the stretch. Can they really depend on Tucker? Because you know this, Pete, games come down to the wire in the NFL. And I think you even tweeted this. If he had missed a point to win the game, like, would they have potentially made a change after this week? But Lamar Jackson is still squarely in this race.
If he continues to go bad, which is possible, do they make a change? I mean, it's something you have to get. One of the all-time great kickers ever, but you can't rely on him. You have to make a change.
Correct.
And kickers go bad. they go off the ledge. You've seen it.
Yeah.
And sometimes they come back around with another team or something. They become good kickers, but that's the problem. Lamar Jackson was off early in that game. He missed Flowers wide open. He just didn't look like Lamar Jackson. You're right. He didn't take off. He needs to take off more and run. I think he's got this preached in his head that he's got to stay there and make the throws, and he should. But they have 5 losses. It's going to be hard to win the MVP if you have another loss or 2 in that on that schedule. So
well, one thing about Lamar Jackson, he's usually really good in the regular season. It's the postseason where things start to go wrong. And to your point, Pete, he'll stand there and he'll try to play hero ball sometimes. They forget to run the ball like they did last year. That's neither here nor there. Fellas, thanks so much for your time and for this discussion. And make sure you check out CBS podcast Pushing the Pile. It's with Kyle Long and Mike Renner. And Pete, you were on the episode yesterday. What y'all talk about?
We talked about my power rankings. We also had a running back draft with the greatest running backs of all time.
Wow.
And I ended up with the best 3, by the way.
Of course you did. You can watch that now by scanning the QR code on your screen or listen wherever you get your podcasts.